And we are live. We'll put the music for now and then wait for people to come in. And then we will be chatting soon. Let's see. The music's not working for me today. I think what you do is the alpha, like living in Thailand, living in like a working in crypto and living in like Asia, it's super cheap. Like it's just different. Like I wish I could do it. Like I have a family here. We live in Israel. Like I can't kind of up and move my whole family. But if I could, I would definitely do what you did. Like kind of take it easy. Uh, Moon Man, hello Moon Man, GM to you. Hello everybody. Welcome to the breakfast show. It's good to have you here. We're with Dean. You're the chief scientist at Zeus, right? Is that, if I'm not
Correct.
mistaken? Or you're a
Yep.
scientist by training? Like, do you have a lab coat that you wear when you?
I cook up a lot of secret experiments here. So yeah.
Yeah, in your lab, in your lair, making it happen. What kind of scientist are you? I want to kind of maybe start off talking about you and like your background before my co-host joins us and starts to chat about BTC.
Yeah. So my background is I've been full time in basically crypto since 2017. So when I came into crypto in 2017, I started building on Bitcoin and basically became like a full time Bitcoin developer from like 2017 onwards, doing like different kind of like apps, wallets, security based things. That's where I basically learned cryptography. I then built on a bunch of other chains. I've probably done, I don't know, like 10, 15 different chains. I got quite big into like EOS and a couple of other things like that. Um, and then at the end of 2022, I basically went like full time Solana. Uh, I moved to Taiwan. So I'd always wanted to sort of live in Taiwan because I speak Chinese, and so I've always wanted to like check it out. I used to live in Hong Kong before, and came here and met the guys from Zeus. At that time, they were running Gen 3 and they were doing a bunch of like Solana community meetup stuff around Taipei. And then Justin hit me up and he's like, "Bro, like, how do we put Bitcoin on Solana?" And I'm like, "Oh, I got you. This lines up with my my professional background." And so I'm like, "All right, let's go do it." And yeah, the rest is history.
Were you a developer before you joined with crypto? Did you like
Yeah,
come from
yeah,
a
yeah.
development background?
I've been a software developer since I was about like I guess professionally since I was 14. So quite a long time ago. Um,
You
yeah.
must be about 25 now. Huh?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely at least 25. Yeah.
Hey, Matty, GM to you. Do you have a single malt in your hand? I need to go get one because today's a celebratory season. It's incredible to have. We have a Bitcoin developer since 2017 on the show with us. This guy's built opcodes. He used opcodes with his fingers. I did a Bitcoin development. Like I did Jimmy Song's book, programming Bitcoin. I studied that. I don't have a like I'm not a developer. I have what's called the marketer's inferiority complex for the last 7 years, where it's like the thing I do isn't real, but developing the real thing, is I always kind of I don't know if I could go back to it, I definitely would be a developer. But by the time like I got started with my career, I was just like too late, and I was building up in something else. But I did learn Jimmy Song's book on programming Bitcoin, and it was like the challenges, like learning about all these elliptic curves and like all these, you have to really get it, as opposed to like EVM programming, which is, it's a lot more easy to be an average EVM programmer than it is to be an average Bitcoin programmer. Do you concur with that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I would say like with Bitcoin, just the UTXO model introduces so much complexity and overhead into anything that you do. So it's like 1,000 times harder to like debug, index, all those things. So it's not necessarily that conceptually it's more difficult. It's just more like practically speaking, you need more tooling, more infrastructure to work with Bitcoin. But I would say that to do most things that you can do now, like is not that complicated. There's like I would say that the most complicated thing is like understanding like Taproot and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I think overall it's like fairly simple overall. Like the best way I would put it is like the complexity is coming from like from the outside, not from the actual like from Bitcoin itself. Bitcoin is a very sort of like primitive, simple kind of system, and you can use it in many expressive and elegant ways that maybe a lot of people have not thought of because sort of Bitcoin innovation kind of stalled for a very long time up until we got Taproot. And now it's like, it's like wide open. You can do a whole bunch of things. And I saw also in your Twitter bio the BIP 420, right? Like if we got UpCat, Bitcoin would just have like infinite potential.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Dean, there's
GM to
something
you,
wrong
Matty.
with your audio. First of all, you're not coming in very strong, and second of all, it's kind of a metallic sound. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Me?
I hear him well, just a little soft, but I hear you loud and like a powerful boom with Matty.
I'm not yelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using my AirPods. Is this better?
Yeah, it's better, much better. Thanks.
Okay,
Very
let's
good.
try that. Cool.
Yeah, cool. No, very happy. I mean, we finally saw that the Taproot. I mean, that was pretty controversial. Um,
Yeah.
what do you say to the people who are like, hey, we don't want spam on the Bitcoin blockchain. JPEGs don't belong on Bitcoin. What do you say to them?
Uh, I'm going to say I think that the white paper says that the Bitcoin protocol follows the longest chain of proof of work, and that this is the mechanism by which you can solve any dispute when it comes to the protocol. You can literally look at like the conclusion of the white paper, and that's what Satoshi said. So I feel like if miners are going to mine it, that's what the protocol is. And if you disagree, you can fork. And forks have tried and forks have failed, and that's kind of the reality. It's like the protocol is whatever miners decide to adopt.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a lot of I mean, you bring up that question, like, it's a lot of. We obviously saw the debate around filtering, around the opcode, like adding removing the limit on data that can be entered into a certain opcode on Bitcoin,
Upper
and
turn, yeah, upper turn, yeah.
that created a big debate, and there was obviously a different implementation called Bitcoin Not versus Bitcoin Core. Maybe explain that to us in the words of a pro and give your take on it. Like, are you a Nazi or are
Yeah.
you a core maxi? Like, where do you stand?
Uh, I think you have to sort of understand that there's people who are extremely militant in their viewpoints, and most of them are like really like being incredibly impractical and don't understand how the real world works, and they're being very idealistic. It's kind of like those people who are like like Catholics aren't Christians or something. It's kind of like that kind of a belief system, like where it's like, if you don't believe my very narrow interpretation of this thing, you're wrong, right? So I my personal opinion is that like miners need to be able to have sustainable revenues in order for proof of work to be profitable, in order for the network to be secured. That is either going to come from uh, the layer one, basically like by just like fees, in terms of like, if you increase the block size or you somehow increase throughput through layer twos on the layer one, but the layer twos are able to somehow like contribute fee revenue back to that, like merge mining or something, kind of like how Litecoin works today. Or if you increase the block size, enabling higher throughput of transactions to enable greater amount of transactions to go through, so miners can be profitable. Or you inflate the fees, so like it costs you $1,000 to send a Bitcoin transaction, or you inflate the number of Bitcoin beyond 21 million, right? So like these are the options that you have on the table. None of them are palatable
Take
to
that last
anybody.
one off the table. I don't think that's ever going to happen, or should. I think that's very, very bad for
It's
Bitcoin.
funny because that's the one that's most discussed by like the core people. Yeah, it's very
Really?
funny because well, there was a contentious hard fork over Bitcoin Cash, right, and SegWit 2x, right. There's like a lot of history behind this,
That
and
wouldn't
Bitcoin.
have increased the number of Bitcoin. Are you talking about
It would have, yeah, it would have increased the block size, right? And the increasing the
blocks?
block size means that miners can make more money out of the blocks, right? Like you can lower the average fee, you can increase the throughput, the miners can make more money, right? Like the problem is the Bitcoin faces is like it not being useful as a network. Like if you read the white paper, it says a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. It doesn't say peer-to-peer electronic cash. It says a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, right? And so Bitcoin as a system and Bitcoin as like a currency are kind of somehow in this new world of cryptocurrency, these like somehow like unrelated concepts, right? There's Bitcoin, the thing that I throw on a centralized exchange to move around a few $100,000 of liquidity without like destroying the market, because nothing else is that liquid or has that deep markets. And then there's like Bitcoin, like these like crazy physical infrastructure, all these miners connected to one another, processing huge amounts of like electricity and hash rate and everything to secure the network against would-be attackers. So I think the problem is like Bitcoin has had a lot of these like contentious issues in the past, and I would say that like while I agree with you, like inflation would be terrible for Bitcoin. Um, if you look at like what's palatable to like these maxi people who sit there screeching on Twitter all day, they would never concede that they were wrong about the block size war. You know, so well, what we're trying to do is we're trying to take the asset Bitcoin and make it useful so that people are more inclined to buy Bitcoin to basically bring the price up and make it useful for them to own it. It doesn't just sit there doing nothing, and so hopefully we can improve the security budget by the way of increasing the price.
GM to our friend, GM to Lady, GM to Kimani, GM to Felix Vaughan, Bitcoin to 150K. But
But
I
yeah,
definitely, I think we have kindred spirits here. I think Mati and I were both Bitcoiners, in body and soul, but we're realists. Look at it with the same way you look at it like Mati, unless in case you're unfamiliar with Mr. Mati Greenspan, he's got a octopus called the quantum octopus with lots of tentacles, and one of those tentacles has a one of those tentacles is a very electric tentacle that mines Bitcoin called Quantum Expedition. So Mati will obviously tell you, the stories of how happy he was when ordinals and runes were popping and creating fees on the blockchain and on Bitcoin. So definitely,
month.
I think the Mac, yeah. Is that an apt interpretation, Mati? Did I get it wrong, or that a
I
quantum
wouldn't call quantum
octopus,
economics an octopus. Like more like an umbrella. But
an umbrella? Yeah.
yeah, we're not the IRGC here.
Yeah, 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 octopus. But wait, let's go back to the beginning because we started off
I mean,
on
nothing
on
wrong
on
with
the.
octopuses. I think that they're awesome creatures. Honestly, very intelligent. Did you see the article lately that some country got in trouble for growing octopuses? They say that's just crossing the line. Like you can't grow them in a farm for they're too intelligent.
Oh yeah,
They're
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that. It's like cruelty. Yeah, yeah.
I thought so
Yeah.
too. like, I don't know, man. That just like that just gets too dystopian for my taste. If you want to catch them in the wild, that's one thing, but yeah,
Yeah.
throwing it on the farm. But no, we do have we're mining 1 megawatt on grid for most of 2024 and first quarter 2025. We're now getting ready to set up our first off-grid site, 2.5 megawatts of natural gas. We have tapped into an endless amount of natural gas. And you don't have to worry about profitability is going to be guaranteed for the mining sector because we're moving to free power. That's something that we've realized very recently, that the winners in this market are going to be the ones who are getting the energy for free. And you talk about large publicly traded mining companies that are mining at 3 and 4 cents. Our first site's going to be 1.5 cents, but we're going to be moving down to absolute zero very quickly as these gas companies realize what we're able to do for them, which is take that natural gas off their hands. They don't want it. They can't sell it.
Exactly.
Even a pipeline is expensive for them, and we're going to give them more money for it than they've ever imagined they could get for it via just a percentage of the Bitcoin mining. It's
there's a lot of people don't realize that. Like a lot of people are like, oh, we need to do like wind and solar and whatever. It's like, no, like cost per kilowatt hour. Like the only things that you can do that are like better than natural gas are like geothermal and hydroelectric, and they are very like geography specific, right? But for the natural gas things, like when we used to mine Bitcoin in Texas, like we had the same thing, like where like the gas companies, like because of fracking, the gas companies had like this huge excess of natural gas, and they just had like they didn't have the containers to like contain it, so they had to burn it. Like they had no choice. Like they had to get
flaring.
rid
Yeah,
of it somehow, right? Yeah.
the
And so and that was like how it was
site
all
we're going
going.
right now is
And
flaring at the moment. We have pictures of the
yeah,
flare just burning gas the entire day
yeah.
long.
It's like free energy, right? And then so it was like all good. And then you remember like Texas had that like really bad cold snap, and all of like the pipes blew up and everything. And then all
Yeah,
of a sudden they're like, we're not selling you gas anymore. Everyone wants to buy it. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Wild. So, like, just expand it to a pleb. Like, why would this natural gas be able to mine Bitcoin, but it can't like power my toaster or whatever?
It can't empower your toaster because it's not connected to your toaster. It's out in the middle of nowhere.
It's like
But
say you have
why
some
is that?
mining site.
Yeah,
Say you have
yeah.
some mining site that's like off gassing a whole bunch of natural gas, right? You can capture it. In fact, like I believe by law you're required to capture it because it's a fire hazard, right? And then it's like, well, what do you do after you capture it? It's like you can store it in these big chunks of metal and ship them somewhere. You can put it into a pipeline if you want to go and spend all the money to do that, right? But unless you do those two things, right, then like what can you do with it? It's just going to sit there. You can't collect it forever, right? And so that's the problem, is like sometimes that you just have like supply is like drastically in excess of demand. And smart Bitcoin miners, especially some of the people we knew from Texas, they capitalized on this. There you go. Yeah, they capitalized on this big time. And this is also like the same thing in Russia. Russia has like so much like natural gas, right? Like you can get $1 per per megawatt hour there. Like it's pretty crazy. Oh, sorry, kilowatt hour. My bad, not
Yeah,
megawatt.
yeah.
Right, yeah, kilowatt.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that would be good.
That would be good. Yeah. That'd be very cheap. But yeah,
um,
yeah,
no, they have a lot of excess gas, especially out in the boonies in Australia. We're talking to them as well. I've got a large Australian community, but the point is that they've got all this gas. They don't want the gas. They're trying to get the oil, right?
yeah,
They're drilling for
exactly. Yeah,
oil,
yeah, yeah.
and their natural gas comes out. They're like, oh shit, what do we do with that? They can't sell it. They don't have a use for it. They can't get rid of it. And in a lot of the cases, there's regulations that prevent them from drilling oil because they have too much gas. and they were coming in like literally as, you know, a savior to them. Like, okay, we'll take that off your hands. We'll mine Bitcoin with it on site, so we are able to. We don't have to transport it anywhere.
Yeah.
We just plop the container down, plop a generator down, convert it into electricity on the site, and turn it into a cold hard Bitcoin cash.
Yeah.
Bitcoin, yeah, Bitcoin Cash. Be careful what you wish for.
Sorry.
Those guys are mining. Those guys are mining their coins on Game Boys. There's no hash power over there. They can use a Game Boy Blue to mine that coin for a Nintendo. But
Yeah,
they don't need. They don't need the whole,
difficulties
all
so
the
low.
world's energy resources to bring to bear in order to just have a little chance of finding the nonce. Because that's where we are with Bitcoin. But hang on, we haven't even spoken about Bitcoin all-time high.
Genghis
We
Kyle
s-
and the
we
leftover
s-
energy to South Africa. I thought that was
yeah. That's
good luck.
Genghis Kyle. Now we haven't even spoken about the all-time high. You know, Mati, I have a lot of friends that I've managed, thank God, to orange pill over the last, let's say, 4 months. So they've never experienced price discovery in their entire lives. What would you say to them? Because one of them, like one of my buddies, quite a wealthy guy, comes from like a very established real estate family. So this guy was like, we actually lived together for a long time when I got into crypto, and he was like very antagonistic to it at the beginning. Then he was like hesitant, and finally he made a call to buy at 80K. You know, after it went to 100, and then it went back down to 80. So around 2-3 months ago, April, I think. And now he's texting me. He's like, should I sell? You know, when do I sell? What would you answer, my buddy?
What is this sell thing that you would talk about? I never heard of this term before. What is sell? I don't
Terrible
know.
idea.
Yeah, I mean, for what? For dollars? I mean, the whole point of this exercise is that we have a monetary system now that is designed to appreciate in value over time, whereas the fiat money system is designed to depreciate in value over time. It's a wonderful life raft, and if you're talking about jumping off of your lifeboat and back into the Titanic, I think you're fucking insane. But here's the chart. This is a 1 week per candlestick, so this is a very, very long-term view. Yeah, we can see that previous all-time high of 70K or 69,420, which was hit, you know, November 11th, 2021, if I remember correctly. That was the day we incorporated Quantum Expeditions. Also, our CEO's Doug Hardwick's birthday. And then we recently broke that into new all-time high territories in 2024. It was about 74K. This is the Trump pump when Donald Trump won that election. Boom, boom, boom. 3 weeks of green candlesticks, bringing out into new all-time high territory. And you see what you really want to happen when you have a breakout to a new all-time high is that you want to then go test that previous all-time high as the new support level. So here we saw the all-time high as the resistance, big breakout, lots of momentum, and then a test of that later on, that same level into it. And here, what we're having is actually this beautiful upward-facing channel, right, where we've got a nice support line there. I'm not going to bother with colors too much right now. A nice kind of resistance line here. But the point is that we have this level of about 75,000, which was broken as the all-time high in the Trump pump. We've already come back down to test that as a support level and now back off to the races. This is a very, very healthy, very, very bullish sentiment. I mean, I've been saying for a while, a break above 110K could lead to 180K in short order. Obviously, past performance is not an indication of future results. You know, I'm not going to tell you that it's never going to go down again, that markets have a way of surprising people, but everything from the technical analysis level says not. I don't agree with the term price discovery. Price discovery is actually a term that's been used in the market to just say that it's discovering what the price should be. And Bitcoiners think that it means that we're at an all-time high level that's never been tested before. That is part of price discovery, but only a very small part of it. But we are in all-time high territory. And that means that there's no resistance level. There's nothing on the top that says, okay, well, here's where it should stop, right? Nothing. And therefore, yeah, I mean, it could reach very high levels very, very quickly, especially given the fundamental side, which is not written on the charts, but FFS, next week is crypto week in the White House. I mean, what the heck does that mean? And how is that going to affect everything that we're working on, and particularly, you know, the price of the world's #1 most adopted and most liquid and most global cryptocurrency, that is Bitcoin. We'll let the markets decide.
I want to share with this, this is, I don't often, I read a lot of, obviously consume ton of content, we all do, but not a lot of things have an impact on my emotional being. I think this had a massive impact on me. Udi Wertheimer's The Bitcoin Thesis Will Retire the Bloodline. You know, Udi and Arthur Hayes, they the two guys, they know how to write with a cheeky style that makes you take, you know, notice. But I think Udi's big argument here was the unit bias is kind of removed from Bitcoin. He made the same argument as you, that, you know, fiat is endless. You know, we all know the equation, infinity over 21 million. Like, we all know that. But, you know, the fact is, like, we're all anchored to a certain
A lot of
price.
Dogecoin in there. Send me the link to this. I
Right.
want to read it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. This was so he basically spoke about Bitcoin in the case of the Dogecoin pump. So you look at Dogecoin, right? So Dogecoin had a pump, and then everyone thought it was like, you know, wow, 10x in a couple of weeks, and then it did 10x from that. So he's saying that he calls it the first mindfuck and the second mindfuck. So according to Udi, we're still, you know, we haven't even seen the first mindfuck of Bitcoin, and that would be Bitcoin getting to 200, 300, 400K at the end of the year. And he says that's only the first. There will be the second mindfuck after that. You know, it's super bullish. I don't know. I wouldn't, like, you know, mortgage my house to based on that take, but it did
You haven't done
give
that yet?
me. I don't have a house to mortgage. It was just a rhetorical question. And, you know, the house is dependent on, you know, it's all-time high. My wife and I were looking at properties yesterday, you know, with a pool, without a pool. Like, you know, you're at all-time high territory. I need to stay humble. I need someone to shout at me for doing a shit job, just to kind of balance out the karma. But I think that the Udi's thesis was just gold. I think it's just, you know, the fact that we're all anchored to a certain price, and but like new people coming in, because this is definitely not, and this will be, I think, our segue into zBTC and Zeus Network. This is definitely not a retail-driven rally, right? The Google searches are at an all-time low. People are still, like, not interested in that. There's, like, you know, the news, like, I hardly saw any mainstream outlets covering all-time high. So it's like, it's very much institutional driven, and these institutions are coming in from, you know, they see IBIT chart that starts at the beginning of 2024. They don't see Bitcoin at $3, you know, back in the day 10 years ago. So that becomes their anchoring, you know, frame of reference. So for them, Bitcoin can go much higher. It's got much more potential. So I think that's a great point to segue into Zeus and zBTC. As you all know, I'm very, you know, obviously very bullish on Bitcoin, BTC Fi. I'm very open about it, that I don't touch shitcoins. Maybe I play around with a little bit here and there, like, but I would never post about a shitcoin. I don't, like, actively shill them. I don't believe that they are investment. I believe that if you're buying anything that's not Bitcoin, it's a trade, you know, maximum 1 month hold and then sell. Like, you know, get out of that as soon as possible. Because I've seen the destruction of wealth that altcoins can cause. That being said, you know, I'm also not a maxi. I don't believe Bitcoin should just sit there. Like, Michael Saylor he's an alchemist. He's found a way to turn, you know, cold stored Bitcoin into cash. because he can. The more Bitcoin he has, the higher the higher his NAV is, the more he can sell MSTR shares, the more cash he has, the more preferred stock, the more bonds he can issue, the more cash he has. I'm not Michael Saylor. I cannot use my cold stored Bitcoin to. I can't issue shares on my cold stored Bitcoin. So that's why I'm on the market now. I'm actively looking for ways to put my Bitcoin to work. I think that's the future of capital markets. Bitcoin is obviously the most pristine collateral type, and Zeus Network is the only solution that I know doing this on Solana, which is obviously Solana. It needs no introduction. So welcome to Dean. After a long segue, we're finally at the main course. So maybe you want to tell us in your own words, like what Zeus Network is and what inspired you guys to get it off the ground.
Yeah, so Zeus Network is the first full implementation of the Bitcoin protocol on another blockchain, in this case, Solana. What does that mean to implement the entire Bitcoin protocol? Well, a lot of people will go and make things like bridges or whatever, and they might just implement SPV, but we are like the first full implementation of the entire protocol. So we can verify anything like from, for example, the execution result of a script, or we can generate addresses on chain. We implemented all of Taproot. Solana did not support Schnorr signatures, and we created a hyper efficient implementation of Schnorr signatures on Solana that's like incredibly, incredibly fast. We can do tweaked addresses, all of those things. So basically, it's like imagine if Solana, like if it were economically feasible to do so with transaction fees, you could run Bitcoin on Solana. In other words, you'd be running a Bitcoin node inside of a Solana validator. And that's like a super crazy thing that like has never really been done before. And so
Why
what
would
does that allow
anybody
you?
want to do that? Sorry. What would be the purpose of that?
If you can run the entire Bitcoin protocol in another blockchain, then you can verify anything about the Bitcoin protocol. So that enables you to do things like, for example, say you had like an ordinals collection and you wanted to create like a governance, right? Like Bitcoin is not very good for something like that, like for governance, right? You'd be able to do like governance for an ordinals collection, like on Solana. And it would be totally permissionless because you'd just be like reading from the blockchain. You'd be able to use Schnorr signatures from your Bitcoin wallet on Solana, so you wouldn't need to use a Solana wallet, for example. And so basically, like when you take like Bitcoin and you integrate it deeply into another ecosystem, it unlocks some new potential to essentially extend not only Bitcoin's capabilities, but also like the other blockchains' capabilities. And so that's why we would call Zeus Network like a layer 1.5. And like the question of like why? Well, we looked at like at the time there was a whole bunch of these like Bitcoin layer twos popping up. Um, like there is a big problem, right, where like it will not be possible for everyone in the world to like own Bitcoin natively on the layer one, like as Bitcoin scales and as adoption increases, right? The throughput is just not there. Like it would take you, thousands of years to onboard every human being to Bitcoin on the L1. So we clearly need other solutions, right? And if we look at like the Lightning Network, it's kind of after all this time and all this like effort spent, pretty much like a
Don't make me
failed
laugh.
experiment. Yeah, don't make you laugh. Exactly right. It's a failed experiment, right? WBTC on Ethereum was actually like I think has had more liquidity than the Lightning Network for like a long time. And so you look at the thesis, it's like okay, we need to scale Bitcoin on L2s. Lightning Network's kind of a dead end. WBTC is kind of a proven theory, and then it kind of died because of Ethereum fees going to like $1 billion, right? But it still exists, like it's still used in DeFi, right? So there is still some demand and some kind of proving out of this use case there, right? Then you've got all these people building all these Bitcoin L2s, and we look at all of them and it's like, okay, like, yeah, this is something you could do, right? You could go and make your own custom network. You could then go and like get a bunch of liquidity providers and then a bunch of centralized exchanges, a bunch of developers to build dexes on top of your chain, and then a bunch of wallets to like support your chain, and then a bunch of like apps and partners and users, and you could go and do all this stuff. Or you could just take the like $1 trillion, $2 trillion asset class that is Bitcoin and put it onto the blockchain that has got the most performant DeFi ecosystem with the most users. And you can kind of like make both networks better, right? You can take this untapped liquidity and plug it into DeFi and make DeFi go crazy. And you can enable the ownership of Bitcoin on not a layer 2, but like actually a very reliable, fast, affordable layer 1. So our thesis is that putting Bitcoin on Solana is a better solution than trying to spin up your own chain. And so that's why we went and did it.
I want to get into this whole thing of of Bitcoin on Solana, running a Bitcoin node in a validator. Would you be able to trigger Bitcoin transaction from like a Solana smart contract? Would that be possible?
Yeah, so essentially you need so going from Bitcoin to Solana is easy. Going from Solana to Bitcoin is hard. And the reason why it's hard is because you have to have some kind of solution to secure those funds, right? Now, if we actually did get BIP 420 over the line and we got OpCat, it would actually be possible to do this without any kind of solution there, right? It would be possible to have like truly permissionless like script only bridges. In lieu of that, what we have to do is actually like rely upon MPC solutions, right? And so that's also like another facet of our protocol, right? In order to make it like objective, the idea is that anybody can use this protocol. Anyone can have any kind of assumptions they want about the security of how they are locking and unlocking those funds, right? So like you could say like have a centralized exchange be the person who custodies those funds, or you could have like a distributed network that is sharded over an MPC protocol so that nobody could basically take the funds. So there's a lot of ways that you can deal with this, but ultimately the nice thing is like if we do get OpCat, our protocol is agnostic to how you deal with that. But yeah, for Zeus Network, how we do it is the smart contracts on chain create the transactions, and so the MPC solution, all it can do is like sign or abstain. So basically, every transaction that has been created is being created on Solana by Solana smart contracts. And then if any transaction was published that was not created by the Solana smart contract, then we were able to slash that quorum because they are collateralizing their quorum with Zeus tokens.
Yeah. Okay. I hear you. It's definitely not simple to go back to Bitcoin, but so just to wrap it up,
It can be.
No, so I want to get into OpCat for like next. I'll get into OpCat, but I just want to kind of summarize what we just heard, and that is Zeus Network is, I would say, maybe the word adapter, maybe you have a better word to make Solana a layer 2 for Bitcoin.
Yep.
To make
Yeah, that's a
okay,
perfect
like
way. We use the term network extension.
network extension. It's extension like it's
I like that.
adapter extension. Yeah, it's a because you're seeing a lot of these kind of solutions popping up. I think the first generation was like, things like BitLayer and a few other Bitcoin L2s that were popping up, and then there's like now people are realizing that the next generation is like, we have other chains that are proven, that have security budget, that are working. We don't need to create a chain from scratch with its own set
Yeah.
of validators and anything, everything that goes into, bootstrapping security. We can just create the extension that will make existing big chains into Bitcoin L2s. And we have Bitcoin OS doing that. You have Arch Network, and you guys are the only ones doing that on Solana, which is pretty crazy considering like Solana is the biggest chain by a couple of important DeFi metrics, and the other players are going for like Cardano or ICP or like tier 4 layers. So it's like it's pretty crazy, and I'll get to why you guys chose Solana in a minute. But like OpCat BRP 420, what is with that? Because like we haven't seen any. You know, Udi was pumping that for a while around the Quantum Cats, the Taproot Wizard Mint. You know, we used to. Everyone was changing their handle. I still have it in my handle on Twitter, the BRP 420, but no one talks about it. It's sort of gone off the radar. We were promised OpCat in 2024. We're in 2025, Q3, and no one's talking about it anymore. What, like, give us the inside scoop on OpCat.
I think that Upcat. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you're adding opcodes to the protocol." It's like, no, you guys over at Blockstream took them out of the protocol because you don't know how to write code and you think that it's a security risk. And so instead of like implementing it in a safe way, we're just going to rip everything out, right? But Satoshi put it there from the beginning, and it's extremely useful. It enables you to take two pieces of data and concatenate them together. And this one very simple primitive enables you to unlock a lot of things. Like you can have like ZK proofs on Bitcoin, right? You can do like all sorts of crazy cryptography and stuff that like you would not even be imaginable, but you can literally do it on Bitcoin. And the cool thing is like if you can do like ZK proofs or different cryptography schemes or whatever on Bitcoin, then that means that you can also take this and put it on a more expressive blockchain like Solana. And that means that Solana is able to generate valid Bitcoin transactions that aren't using like just the standard Schnorr or ECDSA signatures. And that's super cool because that means that like a Solana protocol without any like MPC solution or anything like that is actually able to like custody and unlock funds. So that would be an absolute game changer for Bitcoin in terms of its use and adoption in DeFi and in any kind of like layer two or layer 1.5 in our case solution.
Yeah, but I've been saying this for quite a while. I mean, just that, you know, um, cryptocurrencies have this problem with scaling. They can't, you can't really scale and increase throughput without um, decreasing on decentralization and security. And what we need are many different blockchains working in tandem. And I see this not, you guys seem to be on the right track. I mean, people talk about side chains or whatnot. Actually, I see it as a mesh, right? One big blockchain or chain mesh, which similar to like kind of a chain link fence, um, where all of the different protocols are working together. And it seems like you guys are actually putting that into practice. So good on you.
Well, yeah, I mean, we absolutely like don't just want to build just another project, right? Like we want something that outlives us, and so that's why we build a protocol. And then in order to demonstrate the protocol, we build applications on top of it to sort of show like, hey, here's all the things you can do on Solana with Bitcoin. And we want to just make that more and more powerful over time and show that like Bitcoin is still a powerhouse. It's still, the apex asset. And we want to basically, enable people to take their Bitcoin and not just hold it, right? Like as you were saying, like you're not Michael Saylor. You can't as easily as
Ah,
Michael Saylor.
damn it. Talk to me
You
about
can't
Zeus
just
coin. Is this what I'm seeing? Ticker ZEUS trading at 17 cents at the moment. What is the purpose of creating a new coin? How does it work within the ecosystem?
Yeah, so the purpose of the Zeus token right now primarily is to secure the network through collateralization. So people stake their Zeus token to enable a guardian to join the network. This is validated by Solana, and then those people are able to basically join the MPC solution to basically secure Bitcoin transactions. But actually, like the point of Zeus token is quite a few things, right? So firstly, that. And then secondly, onboarding. So like we've actually used the Zeus token to like incentivize different communities to join us, as well as we're actually like working on further token utility kind of into the end of this year, start of next year. So one thing that we'd be very interested in is using it as like a gas token or as a like a fee token. So yeah, we're still like early in terms of like our roadmap for developing the value for the token, but as of the moment, it's those things.
I want to talk about zBTC because I'm not interested as much about your token. With all
Sure,
due respect, I'm
that's
interested in the
fine.
king and how to make yield on BTC. So the first question that I have, I think you've addressed it a few times, but this is will be one of the winners of zBTC, and that is like, how does zBTC differ from? He called it failed attempt. I wouldn't really call it failed. Things like WBTC and other wrapped Bitcoins. Like, what does zBTC have that the others don't?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that I'll say is that we have an on-chain proof of reserve. Your Bitcoin is literally just sitting there. It's verifiable. You can go and look at it, right? You don't have those guarantees with certain other protocols, not to name names. So we have fully on-chain proof of reserve, verifiable anytime. That's the first thing, right? The second thing is you can off-ramp at any time. So, like, if I wanted to try and off ramp my WBTC, for example, I have to go and like find someone who's going to take the other side of that deal, right? Like some kind of custodian or something, right? If I wanted to off ramp my CBBTC, I've got to go and KYC with Coinbase. Last week, we had some guy off ramp like about, I think it was $1.7 million worth of Bitcoin. Immediately, he had CBBTC. He didn't want to like go through the Coinbase off ramping. He swapped to ZBTC and immediately withdrew his Bitcoin. Right. So we're proving more and more that we're capable of reliably handling not just deposits but withdrawals. We have fully on-chain proof of reserve. It's the most transparent protocol that you're going to find because everything is validated by a blockchain rather than the typical someone creates a bridge which is just a multi-sig run by their company, and you send them your Bitcoin, they immediately send it to a market maker, they give you an IOU saying, hey, if you try to claim your Bitcoin back, I promise I'll give it to you, right? We don't do that. We just hold it. It's just lock, mint, that's it.
Awesome. I think that upgrade is very important, and I want to kind of talk about the yield, like what yield is available, and also to Felix Vaughn's question, what is the different risk? Like, we love to ask this question, where does the yield come from? And
Thank
obviously
you,
based
Felix.
on your
Doing our work for us over here.
based on your answer, there's obviously different risk associated with earning yield on your BTC.
Yeah, so certainly like whenever your Bitcoin is held by anyone that's not yourself, there is some kind of a risk there, right? In our case, we've got a secure threshold system, which is state of the art. Then the second risk you also have got is smart contract risk, right? So with any DeFi protocol, there is a chance that somebody has not written like a perfect contract, right? Um, we do see, in my opinion, far fewer hacks in the Solana ecosystem than the EVM ecosystem. And that's due to us using Rust and having some fairly decent frameworks around that. And also Solana has sort of started to mature now. But you know, those would be the risks that I would say. In my opinion, it's no worse than using a centralized exchange, to be honest. Especially if things are audited and everything is transparent. I think that's the main thing that I look for if I'm putting my money into something is has it been audited? Is it transparent? Certainly, we are going to be open sourcing all of our code too. That's like a goal of ours once we've passed our third audit. So, that to me is the big thing that you need to consider. Now, in terms of where does yield come from, it's actually fairly simple. There's kind of 2 to 3 places where yield comes from. The first place it comes from is from LPing. So you provide your Bitcoin as a pair. This pair trades against some other coin. Those coins trade back and forth, and you earn some transaction fees, right? The second place where the yield comes from is when people create DeFi protocols. Sometimes they will incentivize you to LP, so that's called like a farm, right? So you can earn their token by putting your Bitcoin there. One example right now is Stable. Stable allows you to farm the Stable coin by using your Bitcoin in their Bitcoin stable swap. Um, and the third place where it comes from is lending borrowing. So people can loan your Bitcoin, but the loan is over collateralized. Once the loan hits like a liquidation, then they get liquidated and you get your Bitcoin back if they don't pay it back or if they hit like the threshold, right? But loans are great because what that means is like if somebody like in a bear market, for example, like somebody might want to take out a loan to essentially short Bitcoin so that they can stack more sats, right? In a bull market, people might want to take out a loan to buy more Bitcoin at a lower price and then sell the Bitcoin at the top so that they can pay back the loan for less, right? And so, and then there's also leverage trades on top of those loans, right? So these are kind of the places where the yield comes from. If you look at today, if you look at like the stable pool, which is where I put my Bitcoin, right now APY is about 5%. Um, that's pretty damn good. Like, to be honest, you have to think about the fact, right, that everyone out there is printing money. That everyone out there is like basically creating money out of thin air, while Bitcoin is a deflationary asset. All these other assets are inflationary, and their APYs are like, I don't know, 7 to 9%, right? But so like that's why like earning like 5% APY in Bitcoin is like crazy compared to earning like 7 to 9% in an asset that is like highly inflationary, right? And a lot of this comes down to people don't quite understand like how inflation works, right? But that's the reason why Bitcoin keeps going up in price, right? Is because the dollar keeps losing value. Um, so yeah, I think that's like kind of the simplest way that I could explain it. Do you think I answered the question?
Yeah, I think you got a spot on. There's a few other ways to earn yield on Bitcoin. I think that you didn't mention that are interesting. The first one is using Bitcoin as collateral to lend stables and then investing in that in like a piece of property or whatever. And the second one that's interesting that I haven't really seen too many examples of is what's called the delta neutral basis
Yeah, yeah,
trade,
yeah. Yep.
which is something that I haven't like. It sounds cool conceptually, but I haven't seen too many examples of that, in real life.
Yeah, it is. It is a fairly common strategy. For those who are not familiar with like delta neutral, the idea is like if I have a 50% long and a 50% short, then my position should basically remain stable. And so delta neutral meaning like on average, my position remains neutral. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think we're getting to the end of the show. It's been incredible times. Mati is absorbing all the information in as we speak. Do you have any final questions, Mati? I just want to know like
I,
what's
I
coming
I wish
next.
we could do a technical demonstration. It just seems we don't have a lot of time for it. That's all. I was,
Also, it's Bitcoin, so we're going to be waiting 3 hours for things to bridge, for confirmation.
yeah, I think we
Yeah,
bridge some stuff up in the meantime,
that's
and
that's not a bad question. That's not a bad question from Mr. Dre. Is Bitcoin is just planning to support other UTXO based assets like
Yes.
LTC or Doge?
Yes. Yes.
Yes
Um,
is the answer. Good alpha.
yeah. A lot of all these UTXO assets, they rely totally upon centralized exchanges to bootstrap liquidity. And I don't know if you guys remember what it was like using, Binance back in 2017 or whatever, right? Like it was like kind of the only way to go. But now, after Ethereum kind of took off, and then now Solana has like revolutionized DeFi, like the DEX experience is way better than the centralized exchanges, right? And so what we think is that Zeus can actually do for Bitcoin and any other kind of UTXO chain, what DeFi did for like swaps, right? So rather than you having to rely on centralized exchanges to bootstrap liquidity or trade your assets, you can use a DEX, and we think that that's like super exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super like I just love all these solutions because I want to obviously go in and out of Bitcoin and for a long time Bitcoin was sort of very isolated from the rest of crypto. Like if you want to go stables to EVM coins to NFTs to that, there's 101 different options. It's very easy to bridge to swap to that, and then Bitcoin is like it's not supported by like layer zero. It's not supported by Infinex, and it's like most of my crypto is in Bitcoin. So like
Yeah,
if I want to move that on chain, and I do want to move that on chain, I want to minimize like how many custodians and travel rule fucking things I have to fill out,
yeah,
right? Then I'm limited. So for me, like there's the side of Bitcoin being usable in DeFi and the yield on DeFi, but the before that, there's this, there's the side of making Bitcoin mobile, which
yeah.
is something which I'm very bullish on, and bringing that to Solana is obviously the best idea ever. So, like, what you guys have coming up? For me, I got some runes, I got some ordinals. Do you have any plans concerning, Bitcoin assets, supporting them, encouraging their trading, maybe creating different, tools or venues for people to trade these assets? And if not, like what are some of your other forward-looking plans?
Yeah, so we are interested in doing like other UTXO assets like ordinals and runes. The thing is, like, the difficulty in doing those is much greater than like the like native like UTXO assets. And we don't just want to like throw some like UTXO asset behind a multi-sig or something like that. We don't want to do it in a centralized way. We want to do it in a decentralized way that it could be verifiable on Solana. We do have some solutions for that, but it's probably not like our first priority. But like, you have to think like the most important thing is to go after like the $1 trillion asset class first, and then, go for like the billions and then the millions after that, right? So that's kind of our priority. But yeah, we definitely do have plans. We do have some things in the works for that. Um, from our perspective, right? Like the way we see it, like you have like Michael Saylor has clearly found this like he's unlocked this alpha, right? It's like I can abuse the fiat debt scam to use cheap debt to buy Bitcoin, which goes up in value, which allows me to accrue more debt. So I've like hijacked this system and I can just ratchet my way up, right? So that's the Michael Saylor play, right? I think a lot of people are going to try to copy it, right? It might be harder for
They are
them
right
to.
now.
I mean, they are right
Mm.
now, right? It's happening everywhere. Every country's got their own like sovereign micro strategy popping up, right? And there's others popping up in the US, right? So like our perspective is like this is clearly where the demand is in the market for Bitcoin as an asset class, right? So like our take is that any Bitcoin custody company that just does the fiat debt scam thing, they'll probably do well, and we hope they do well, right? Because like we all want Bitcoin to win. But anyone who does that and then on top of that uses their Bitcoin and DeFi to earn additional yield in Bitcoin, those companies are going to make more Bitcoin, right? They're going to be the ones who they're taking on, you know, relatively
Yeah.
speaking, a relatively small risk for a massive upside. So the thing that we want to do is unlock the ability for those companies to safely do that.
And I
Wait, I
just
want
want
to double. I want to. Yeah,
a relatively small risk. The risk in lending your Bitcoin or giving up your private keys. I mean, we've seen that blow up in people's faces countless times. People lost literally billions on Celsius and BlockFi for an 8% yield. So as soon as you give up your private keys, the risk is not minimal. It is massive.
I think that's where we might have a difference of opinion. In my opinion, the most important thing is transparency, right? If you know that you are exposed to, smart contract risk, you know that you know where the coins are stored, right? If that's like on-chain, auditable, and transparent, then there's kind of no question, right? In the case of things like, Celsius or some of these other, like FTX or whatever that have blown up, right? There's no transparency. Right, you're throwing your Bitcoin into a black box. And so that's where I emphasize on the word safely, right? That's from our perspective, we want to enable these institutions to be able to actually have access to this upside in a safe way, right? And the way you do that is through transparency. So there's no shortcut there, right? Why is your Bitcoin on the L1 safe? Because you have some guarantees, right? You know that like miners can't like double spend your coins or whatever, right? We need to build those guarantees and we need to build that trust. And when I say trust, I don't mean trust
And
me,
you're
bro.
using
I
future
mean
tense,
prove
which
it.
tells me it's not, and which is my point as well. None of this stuff is battle tested, and none of this stuff has withstood, sudden withdrawals like the type that brought FTX down, right? FTX could have gone forever if it weren't for like all of a sudden everybody trying to get their money out all at once, right? And so regular traditional banks, they do stress tests on a regular basis, right? They go out and they do simulations and they test their systems. Okay, are we going to be able to stand up to this and this amount of sell pressure? If everybody wants their money at once, what's going to happen? And this is only coming after centuries of things like bank runs, and they learned their lesson time and time and time again. And so this is going to happen for Bitcoin as well, no doubt. And I applaud you for building it. But please do not downplay the risk, because especially in these early stages, people who put their money into protocols like this, the risk is huge because none of it's tested, and you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what can come and what asteroid can come in from the outer reaches of space and suddenly blow up your entire world. And so Bitcoin, we know, is pretty safe. It's battle tested. Nobody's been able to hack it yet. But as soon as you start building things on top of that, the risk goes up infinitely.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say infinitely, but the risk goes up for sure. And I agree with you, like in the sense that, like, we have to battle test things, right? We have to be able to, go through like bank runs and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know any other protocol that can just take like a 1.7 million withdrawal just like that, like immediately and just process it, right? Like, we're the only one that I know of that does that. I don't know any other protocol that has full proof of reserves on chain where you can literally go and pull it up off the blockchain and go look at it. Like so, but at the same time, right? I want to sort of echo your point in the sense that like you don't know what you don't know, right? There's always a risk every time that you deal with any smart contract, not just like ours or like any smart contract, right? People aren't perfect. Hackers are sophisticated. There are many ways that like these things can blow up, right? And from my perspective, I want our industry to be one that is not associated with scams and, that kind of thing, right? I want us to have a reputable, decentralized financial system. And so when I say we need to build these things, what I don't mean is like we have to change what we're doing. What I mean is like we need a track record. We need to prove this over time. We need to, go through and do the hard work with, making sure that we've secured everything and like you said, battle testing it. And that, in my opinion, I agree, is an ongoing thesis that needs to be proven in DeFi in general.
And we
Also,
applaud you for building it.
Thank you.
so thank you guys. Thank you all for all your questions, all your comments. It's been a great episode. I think Dean is one of the more giga brain guests that we've had on here. Not talking shit, but talking facts and talking tech. And that is what we like to see, especially when we're in price discovery mode. I know Mati doesn't like that word, but I'll keep using it because we're discovering
We're
just
always
how
in
high.
price discovery mode, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No matter what the price is, it's being discovered by the markets. It's a constant process. Not anymore
Let's
today.
go. Welcome, guys. Thank you guys for joining. Dean, we'll definitely see you around the Twitterverse, and we look forward to the TVL, your Bitcoin TVL growing, and let's get some institutions on board, because a lot of these guys they're trying to copycat Saylab. They're doing it in a very TradFi Web2 way, and I think we have some work to do to get to a place where we have crypto native solutions for creating these Bitcoin treasuries companies. I really resonated with that. So thank you for coming on the show, Dean, and we'll see you guys later. Peace out. Until next week.
Thank you, guys.